Hi, this is Danielle Stewart, your candidate for mayor of Beckley in 2020, and today we're going to talk about language, specifically definitions and how words can be used to mislead voters. Our first word is revenue, which means at its heart income or funds coming in. Revenue should not be confused with profit or loss, which are defined by revenue minus expenses. An example is Sears. In 2019, Sears had revenue of $13 billion. Sounds like a good business. But after you account for expenses, Sears lost $1.7 billion. Not a very good investment. This is relevant as the city reports $272,000 in revenue for Black Knight in 2019, which sounds great, except they fail again to mention any expenses. Are you wondering why? Loan payments alone for Black Knight are $25,000 a month, $300,000 a year. That doesn't include personnel, insurance, utilities, maintenance, kitchen renovations, or the other myriad of expenses to run the club. The city says it hopes for $400,000 a year in revenue, but if $300,000 goes toward the loan, do you really think only $100,000 pays for everything else? How much is the city really spending to keep their country club afloat? Like the Wizard of Oz says, just ignore the man behind the curtain. Everything is fine. Please, enjoy a round of golf. Our next word to define is expectations. Expectations are a strong belief that something will happen in the future. When you walk down the street, you don't expect to find money, so if you come across a quarter, then in fact, you have exceeded expectations. The city reports that revenue at Black Knight has exceeded their expectations. Do you have any idea what those expectations were? Do you, as citizens and voters, expect Black Knight to just generate revenue? Or, like me, do you expect Black Knight to cover all its costs without further taxpayer funds? The city won't tell you if Black Knight is covering its expenses because it isn't. Again, just ignore the man behind the curtain. Everything is okay. Please, enjoy our pool. Our last item to define is opportunity costs, which are the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. An example is if you choose to use your money to buy groceries so you can eat, you lose the opportunity for entertainment in going to the movies. Another example is that when the city chooses to purchase Black Knight and then continue to use taxpayer funding to prop up a failing business, the city gives up the opportunity to improve parks, pave roads, address homelessness, or support small businesses. And again, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Everything is fine. We hope you enjoy your buffet at Chilson's. The reality is, our city looked at our failing infrastructure and said, let's buy a country club. That'll fix it. They looked at our homeless problem and says, I know how to solve it. Let's buy a country club. Our city looked at our parks and said, it would be better for Public Works to improve Black Knight than to paint the 50-year-old equipment in our community parks. Unfortunately, this is not the Wizard of Oz, and we can't just tap our heels together and go home. This is our home, and people are intentionally killing it. You should be very unhappy with all of this. When given a choice to improve our city, our leaders chose to buy a country club. But that isn't the worst part. Black Knight was purchased by an investor in 2011 for $900,000. Hopefully you can see that amount from the Raleigh County Tax Assessor's Office of $900,000. Accounting for annual property value increases of 2.39% per year, that means in 2018, Black Knight was worth $1.037 million. But hey, didn't the city say that investor spent $5 million on improvements in that 7 years? You know, 5 times more than what the investor actually paid for the property. Let's see what the legal authority says. Again, the Raleigh County Tax Assessor says Black Knight is worth $1.564 million in 2018. And that's the 100% amount, not the 60% amount, which is the tax assessor assesses property taxes. The previous owner's $5 million investment only netted a value increase of $600,000. In the business world, that's a crappy investment, and managers get fired. However, the city of Beckley in 2017 paid $2.95 million to purchase Black Knight, which is $1.385 million more than the property was valued at by the best assessment. And then the city invested at least another $600,000 for golf carts, renovations, startup costs, and branding. Who looks at these numbers and says, let's do it? Nobody. Unless the investor that purchased the property in 2011 is the current governor, Jim Justice, with a net worth of $1.5 billion. You also may know him as the coach of the Greenbrier East High School girls basketball team. You know, the one that less than 1 month ago called our Beckley girls thugs. And the person managing Black Knight for Jim Justice is Bird White, the former recorder treasurer for the city of Beckley, and was the sitting president of the county commission, Raleigh County Commission, during the time of the sale. He was rewarded after the sale by Jim Justice and named the Secretary of Transportation for the state of West Virginia. Despite the fact the purported investment of $5 million by Jim Justice only resulted in an increase in value of $600,000. Then, and only then, can a city justify paying $2.95 million to purchase a country club. Our city bailed out a billionaire governor with a $2.95 million payout on such a horrible investment that the Secretary of Transportation and the governor could not make it work. Our billionaire governor made over $1 million profit on our taxpayer dime, and the city was in full agreement with that. And the total $3.5 million loan that the city took and spent for Black Knight and renovations is just that, a loan. $3.5 million at 3.95% interest for 15 years equals $964,000 in interest. Meaning that overall the city, the taxpayers, will pay $4.6 million for a country club that in 2018 was worth $1.5 million, just so our billionaire governor could get his bailout and our city leaders could have a country club. I am furious over this. This act alone shows how little our city cares about the everyday people in our community. Get angry. Get furious. And then on May 12th, do something about it. We need a leader that will stand up to the good old boys and say no. We need a leader that isn't dazzled by the illegitimate use of language and understands the numbers. We need a leader that puts the needs of the citizens first. I am that leader. On May 12th, vote Danielle Stewart for mayor of Beckley. Thank you.